Can you tell me how you got into gynecologic surgery?
Oh boy. I mean, obviously, I came through, through OBGYN residency. As I was thinking about residency as a medical student, I first rotation as a third year was OBGYN. Recognized that I really liked obstetrics. At the time, didn't necessarily think or see myself as a surgeon. When I later went on and did a general surgery rotation, had some exposure to urology, I thought, I think I'm kind of like this surgery thing. And at the time, OB really felt like the best of all worlds because I liked obstetrics and really enjoyed labor and delivery. There was opportunity to still become a surgeon and operate. And I think my original thought as I came to medical school was that I might be a primary care physician. So it was all three rolled into one. And lo and behold, it turns out that affinity to surgery really kind of stuck with me. And so I think as I was a second year, at the Brigham, my second year was the first year. There was an outside rotation, a surgery rotation that went from third year to second year. So that we got exposed to more vaginal surgery, got exposed to vaginal surgery early in our training. And I kind of got the bug early. And of course, I had two chiefs, Mandy Pulliam and Jen Wu, who both were, really advocates for urogynecology and have gone on to have, fabulous careers in urogyn. And so that had a big influence on me as well.
So that brings us to the next question. So you mentioned Mandy Pulliam and Jen Wu. Any other mentors or sponsors that you want to mention that have been influential?
Yeah, well, certainly I can't talk about, mentors without talking about Lennox Hoyt. Lennox, when I was a resident, Lennox, I think had gone off to do his fellowship in Chicago at Loyola, and it had come back, I think maybe in my third year or something like that. And he was my proposer to become an SGS member. I did my thesis work during residency with him, and there's not been a stage in my career where I haven't reached out to him, to get his insights and thoughts about, kind of what I'm, was getting involved in, or, changing jobs or anything like that. So he's been incredibly supportive from the very beginning, and a real enthusiast for urogynecology and for research. I think the work that I did with him really, kind of got me involved in thinking about the etiology of prolapse. And a lot of his work has been looking at levators. My interest ended up being in the connective tissue side of things. But it was really great early in my career to have someone who can entertain my interests and support. Has been a tremendous support from day one.
To you, what makes a good gynecologic surgeon?
Yeah. I think you have to know how to navigate the pelvis. I think GYN surgery is really about understanding anatomy, understanding how to navigate the spaces of the pelvis, and being able to do so using multiple modalities. That's vaginal, that may be laparoscopic. If your endoscopic preferred approach is robotic, it's that as well, and obviously open surgery. And I think you have to be comfortable addressing all the organs that are in the pelvis, right? It's not just the uterus, cervix, tubes, and ovaries, right? It's the bladder, the ureters, the bowel, the spaces in between. And I think, through one's training, through experience, through working with people outside of GYN, I think, we have the opportunity to grow and develop our skill set so that we develop that comfort and expertise. But I think that's a little bit of what it takes. It's not just, working from below. It's not just working from above. I think it's really all again, working in all modalities to be able to safely navigate the pelvis.
The upcoming meeting in March, the theme of it is surgeons as change agents. What does that mean to you, and what changes have you observed in your career so far, and what do you think is next?
Oh boy, yeah. It's a big question, and we're going to have a whole meeting to think about it and to hear some wonderful things that surgeons are doing. And I think one of the big things is, when we think about as surgeons in surgical care for women, I think our ability to provide great care to our patients, and thinking about, well, what do our patients really deserve? I think one of the things that we're in the transition we're in the midst of is, well, who should be doing GYN surgery, right? Certainly at the early stage of my training, right? So many things that, as a subspecialist I do today, we're all still in the realm of the generalists, right? And that's true when I'm wearing my Urogyn hat, and that's true when I'm wearing my MIGS hat. And I think we step back and now look on 15, 20 years down the line and say, nah, that's not really how we should be practicing presently. That is not in the best interest of our patients. And so I think, a lot of us have, had a lot of training and in our careers have had a lot of experience to grow as surgeons to really provide optimal care to our patients, and can still look around and see that's not happening for everyone when it could be. It's certainly, or at least more often. And I think that's a huge change that's underway. That ultimately is a change for the better, but it's going to have an impact on how we work, how we see patients, what our workflow looks like, how patients come to us, and how we kind of see ourselves and define ourselves, whether it be as the generalist or as the subspecialist, surgeon. And so I think that's a huge change that's underway, but one that's needed and frankly, long overdue.
Shifting gears and speaking now specifically about SGS, what role has SGS played in your career?
I feel like SGS has been a great fellowship, a source of great fellowship in the field. I feel like it's kept me connected to people I've trained with. It connected me to colleagues outside of the areas and spaces I've trained. I think it's connected me to an academic community, while at the same time keep me connected to a world of practicing, physicians who may not necessarily have an academic title, but are invested in the education and training and growth of GYN and GYN surgery. It's kind of the way I thought about Boston. It's a big city, but it's small enough to kind of get your arms around. Whereas kind of New York, it's like you never quite get your arms around it. It's just been a wonderful community of people that you feel like you really kind of know everybody, or at least know who everybody is. And the folks who you've heard about and looked up to you can actually put a hand on their shoulder and speak to them and have a conversation. And I think a lot of other organizations that are larger, that doesn't quite happen. So I think it's a really special, unique space that allows for folks, kind of at the peak of their careers, and those of us, those just starting, those of us in the middle, all can relate and connect, and we all benefit and grow from that.
Anything else that keeps you coming back to the meetings?
Well, the golf is fun as well. For many years, it was probably the only round I was playing, but I'm trying to change that a little bit, so I play a little better when I am there.
You're not the first one to say that, so I can see that as part of the montage. It's like the golf. Any specific memories you want to share? Okay, if you don't have any, but any that you can actually share.
Boy, what's well, I'll say this, I think it was 2009. I had come to the meeting with Joan Bankston in 2008 or 2009. And she's the one who encouraged me to go golf, and I played with her in a foursome, and we had a great time. But she also connected me with a group during that visit that was doing international work down in Haiti, and I spent I wasn't able to go that year, but the following 4 years had gone, working out of a hospital in Bay, in the north part of the country. And that kind of all started at an SGS meeting and golfing with Joan and saying, hey, there's this trip we're about to go on, and we'd love to have you join the group. And that experience, and that was my first full year out in practice as a general OBGYN. But the experience I had the subsequent year in that trip down in Haiti was incredibly impactful, and was a great opportunity in that it was GYN surgery, but we were doing a range of cases, working with general surgeons, surgical oncologists. Joan and I got a chance to work together. It was an incredible part of my early surgical training, kind of post residency, and first experience in international healthcare. And so, again, all that started from, kind of a round of golf at SGS.
I love that we have this connection. Not only did we train at the same residency program, but Joan was my first introduction to urogyn surgery, and she took me to Haiti with her in 2012, I think.
Okay.
So I love that. That was a big experience for me. It was a big deal. It put a lot of career things into perspective for me, and it was really special. So I love that we have that sort of shared experience. All right, last, tell me what your favorite GYN instrument is and why.
Oh boy, so this it's hard to pick one. Lone Stars is up there, and I think the ligature with Maryland jaw is an incredible instrument, fine dissecting instrument, incredible extrasurgical instrument. But from residency, I have just an old classic needle driver with a little gold ring handled, and still that is just one of the most elegant and kind of simple but refined instruments. And I think when you see someone who's can use a basic needle driver, palm that needle driver, and manipulate the needle and suture in a very elegant way, it is still one of the most, I think it's kind of really beautiful when you see that. And it's kind of I'm still working to make it beautiful, but in my own hands. But I think it's just a wonderful instrument, incredibly versatile. And although it's not one of my, obviously it's not something we're using endoscopically, but I think when we're working vaginally, we're working from above, incredibly, just a remarkable instrument.
Well, then my follow-up question is curved or straight needle driver?
I'm good with the straight. Yes. I don't need the handy tip. I'm good with the straight.
The needle driver is Fifi Parezo's favorite instrument as well. So you are in good company. That was her response last week. So
I like that. I'll take that.